we could sing a little song. And just to contextualize what it is that I'm doing here, I know a bunch of you, and it's very cool to have been a part of this intersectional human environment justice thing that we're all doing, climate, that people have been doing all over the world. And I've got a friend here from Chicago, my friend Kirsten. There's people here online from all over, as we were just chatting with people in Tilburg. It's very cool, and it's a very growing, rich movement of people. And it can feel small, it can feel isolating, and I just am feeling very blessed and grateful to just be here with all of you today, however many people came to engage in these conversations and to share. And I know most people, a lot of people here are also sharing their story over the next few days. So this first day is just a chance for us to be together and to hear from a bunch of people. Like I said, in the afternoon, Patty and I will walk us through something this morning. And I'm here as an artist. One of the things that I'm going to be doing during today is listening to all the beautiful things that you have to say and writing them down. And I'm going to be attempting to write a song over the course of this day that we can all write together. And when we have time at the end, we'll see how it came about. And so my task for you before we do a little warm-up is that as we're going through the day, people on Zoom too, as we're going through the day, I want you to become a songwriter. And the only thing you need to do to be a songwriter is to pay attention to the world around you, to pay attention to the things that people say that irk that little thing in you that go, oh, that's really cool, that could be a song. And as a dude who's been doing it for a while, the most annoying thing that people do in my life is they go, oh man, you should write a song about that. You should write, I get it all the time, and it's really irritating, but I'm gonna say that, so I'm sending it back to you. I've gotten that for a decade, now I'm sending it back to you. You should write a song about that. So as we're going through the day, I want you to listen to phrases, to single words that you hear or that you even think. Maybe it's a response to something that somebody says, and I want you to write it down on your phone or on a piece of paper, okay? And what I'm hoping that when we arrive at the end of this day and we close this thing out with a reflection together and some version of a song, is I want to hear what those thoughts that came to you, what they are. And I want to hear how you say them. I want to hear if they come with any loaded emotions or rhythms built into them. That's what songwriting is somebody says something like, I can't take it anymore. Like, that has a rhythm to it, it has an expression to it, it has emotion to it, and I want to do that with you. Okay, so that's kind of the background flow of this whole day. We're going to be covering like a huge amount of amazing content and storytelling from Patty and from different people all over the world. And threading behind all of that, I'd love you to be paying attention to that sort of creative part of your spirit that can help translate all the things we hear into a song. Okay, how's that for a background task? Good? Okay, so one of my inspirations as a songwriter, before I hand this over to Patty, is as I work in the world in this ecology space, and particularly with people who have no connection to climate or the environment. They're often music fans. I meet them at music festivals that I play. I meet them at schools that I go and talk and sing at. They're overwhelmed by the scale of the problem, and they're overwhelmed by their own feelings that they can't do anything about it. And I was singing and doing this kind of ecology singing thing for a while, and it took me a bit to realize, as my friend Kirsten has pointed out, everyone, this is Kirsten Hedegaard, I just have to point out, Kirsten's a dear friend of mine and an inspiration of mine, and Kirsten works in the music space as well. And one thing that we've noticed, and I'm sure many of you noticed, is that we say like, find your voice, right? That it's like we all have a voice in this, we can add our voice to the movement. And I've started going into conference spaces. I was in one in Colorado a few weeks ago, and I did a poll. I said, you know, if we were to all sing right now, for whom would this be the first time they sang in front of another human being in the last 6 months? 90% of the room put up their hand. So I'm going to ask you that question. When we all sing in 60 seconds, for whom will that be the first time they've sung in front of another human being in the last 6 months? No? Yeah? Okay, how about the last month? Okay, how about longer than that? Who hasn't sung in front of somebody in a long time? Yeah, brilliant. It's a good thing. So why we bring music into these spaces, for me, and why we bring singing into these spaces in particular, is because the scale of the problem requires millions of people to metaphorically and literally find their voice. literally find their voice, if we cannot step past the vulnerability of saying and singing stuff at pitch in front of other people, even if it sounds quote unquote bad, how are we possibly going to get together to tackle the scale of the problem that we are up against? Climate. If singing is hard for you, I'm sorry to say that climate and ecological breakdown is a hell of a lot harder. And so, and the funny thing about this, and I'm going to end it here, the funny thing is consistently when people are asked what is your number one fear, the number one fear of the population, do you know what it is? Yeah, public speaking. And when you add singing onto that, it goes way up. Singing in front of people is by a landslide the most common answer of the things that people are most afraid of. And so I think it's a beautiful opportunity to tackle that head on and say, if we are going to step over the greatest social fear by singing, and they just happen to be songs about the topics we're going to be covering today. And in doing that, we are going to open ourselves to the possibility of tackling other really hard things in life, okay? That's a long-winded way of saying why I'm excited to be here with you today and hopefully what I'm going to contribute. And then I'm going to pass things off to Patty, and we're going to do a bit of a dance back and forth. And thank you, everybody. Could we just get a little wrist snap for the tech folks for helping navigate that? It's very hard to connect over these far distances. So I'm going to put this down for a minute. I'm going to put this down. I could even leave this here, but I don't think Zoom's going to hear any of that. So one warm-up that we do to cheat, and don't tell your vocal coach this, but when you have not a lot of time to warm up, you go like this. Woo! Y'all do it with me? Woo! Then a little higher. Woo! One more. Woo! Nice. Okay, so when we get way up there, start to crack, it's not good. So we should do a whole bunch of stuff before that, but we don't always have time. So you don't have to sing very loud. You can fake it. But you're the only one that will know you're faking it, and that's just like, you know. So I'd like to start with a song. It's just a little call and response song. This is just a way to get us going. Let's do a little one. We'll go again. Da 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 da. 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 Whoa. You've even got the pickup notes. You're already brilliant musicians, right? It's not just da 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 da, but it's da 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 da. Yeah, right. See, we're in it. We're totally in it. See, that's so much harder than so much what we're going to talk about today. So this song is I have to write a lot of call and response songs singing at rallies. So we're going to go like this. It's a song called "What Are We Protecting?" Okay, and it's just you go after me, and we should all stand up. We should all stand up before we get into this. We really get it loose. Okay. And we gotta shake it out. And we'll do woo! One more. Woo! All right, one more. Woo! So it goes like this. Well, that's gonna be high for me to start today. It's too high. We're not doing C, Luke. No way. That's an E. Let's do an A. Yeah, that's good. So go like this. What are we protecting? What are we protecting? The big old tree. Big old tree, yeah, the ancient forest, on the salty sea. Right, okay, now everybody feel for a sec. C, sing that note, E. Where does that sit in your voice? Somebody tell me if this is the top of your voice, and this is the bottom, where does that sit for you? C. That's the middle for everybody. Okay, great, if we want passion, then we sing higher. So I'll challenge you. We'll go up there. What are we protecting? What are we protecting? Way better, right? The big old tree. The big old tree. Yeah, the ancient forest. The ancient forest. Oh, the salty sea. The salty sea. And what are we protecting? What are we protecting? Oh, the water in the river. The water in the river. And the good life giver. The good life giver. Oh, the water in me. Water in me. So stand by the creek. Good one. Good singing. Good singing. Hey Zoom, we're back. What's up? So great. That's a nice way to start the day. So we're gonna sing throughout the day. Because it feels good. That's the primary reason I'm here and why I like singing, because it feels good. The second reason is because it really helps us process what's going on. And I found the more that I'm invited to be a part of these things and speak at different gatherings and conferences, especially ones that use this thing a lot, and mine's a little rusty these days, it starts to get dense. And then we sing, and I just watch it over and over and over again, change rooms and lift people up, and it helps us digest and process. So we'll revisit some songs throughout the day. I hope everyone's okay with that. How is that? If I can get one of these, how is that? Okay, great. Does anyone side or down? Okay, great room. Okay, I'm gonna bring, I'd like to bring my friend Patty out, and I have a little thing written about Patty, and then I'd also like to just say something too. So, folks, this is Patricia Lane, aka Patty, and Patty here is a lifelong student of how people build better relationships across generational, philosophical, and ideological divides. She has applied her interests in this to her paid work as a lawyer and a mediator, with a particular focus on getting the best outcomes for children in families stuck in intractable conflict. Patty is a mom, a grandmother, and her fierce commitment to children and young people propelled her into spending years on the board of the Sierra Club BC, civil disobedience around Fairy Creek, which I know there's a few people in here involved in that movement, and helping found Lead Now, and broadly just being a community organizer to build a better future. Patty has many roles in the world, and it's awesome. Patty has trained hundreds of people in the tools and social science for effective climate conversations. This has looked at, like a lot of things, Patty has an ongoing offering in the world around that climate communication, and is being invited into different university settings, adult education settings, different with companies and unions and such, to speak about a climate, and especially for people who are just entering this conversation. And Patty and I'm always like dumbfounded. I don't actually know 100% how we know each other, and those are the best relationships. Patty and I know each other through, I think, being in the same network for a long time, and I met Patty and Malcolm. I think the first time we properly met was at a campsite. We just posted up and had a great old chat. And since then, I've been very inspired by both of them. This is Patty's partner, Malcolm, sitting here, and this is Patricia. And this is gonna be a big, beautiful conversation about communicating climate hope. You'll see we'll cover a lot of topics. There's some content that you'll get. So I just wanna set the groundwork a little bit, that one of Patty and I's intentions today was to share with you a lot of what we've found useful over the time. So like there's a couple podcast experts, there's a couple videos, and this was because we want to then be able to send you away with this in your work. So just to set the reference there. And there's also a lot of participation and mentee stuff too. So we're gonna have a really good time. Please make yourself at home, and everybody welcome Patricia Lane.
Thank you. Now, I'd just like to do a check-in with Zoom. So are we able to see any of the Zoom participants? Yay. So if you're on Zoom, would you do us a favor and turn on your cameras so we can actually see you? Right? And it would be wonderful if you just leave your cameras on, because we really, like, you're a part of this, right? So, so I think there's many more of you than that, and Dylan will work on getting a full-on view. So I'm so grateful to Luke for that introduction. I know exactly how we met, but I'll tell you later. No, we met because he was giving a concert in a little tiny park right around the corner from me. And I was walking down the street with my dog, and I heard this voice. And I thought, I think I'm going to go over there and see that. It turned out it was the Sierra Club, which I was on the board of, running an education platform. And they were having just a little community concert, and Luke was singing. So that's how I thought, he's somebody to follow. And so we connected about a year later. So let's find my talking points here. Let's find out who's here. So hopefully all of you have been able to use the Mentimeter thing now. And is somebody working that for me, Elise? So if we could see the Mentimeter slide, the first one. And now get out your phones, because you're going to need it for the next slide. It's coming, yeah. So Elise, are you able to move that? Oh, I've got a clicker here. Brand new technology for me.
And then go view options, and then click UBC presenter view.
Okay, there's the QR code. It won't be there for long. So this is all the people that are here so far. If you haven't filled it out, please do so. And I haven't been able to figure out what this is down here. This is the first time I've used Mentimeter, but I think it means the number of responses, right?
You can like different people's responses.
Oh, okay, cool. So we have almost 50 people participating. That's pretty good. So there's the code. So can we have the next slide now? And you're all going to be invited to answer another question. And we're going to watch the results come up in real time. So please get out your phones because we're not going to leave the slides up very long. All right, so here we are. Keep going. And everybody on Zoom should be able to do this too, of course. They're all on it, I can tell. Option 6 is kind of the never, never land. That's just over 60. All right, so we can see that probably the biggest block is 20 to 30, and the biggest overall number is 20 to 45. And that's actually reflected in this room too. So, so that's just super interesting. Next slide. And next question. One gift you bring to this work. Please use one word. Okay, we're at 21. We can go more. We can go more. There's a song in all those words. I beg your pardon? That's right. Yeah, the biggest one is attracting the most likes, or more than one person has said that. Okay, a couple more. And somebody's going to take it. Oh, I've got it on my computer now, so we'll be able to save it. And, oh, 35, we're still going up. Any more? The people who haven't responded are just bringing the gift of silent thoughtfulness. All right, let's go to the next slide. One word for something you do to stay balanced. This is us in it for the long haul. How do we stay balanced? People on Zoom, can you give me a thumbs up if this is a good experience for you? Great. One person, a couple of people are having a lot of trouble figuring out how they stay balanced. I'm going in a minute. Okay, thank you. So welcome, everybody, with your sense of home, with your gifts, no matter how old you are, and with your determination and commitment to staying balanced. So we are many and we are different. We're together, welcome, and we are alone. But to quote Mary Oliver's poem, how many of you know Mary Oliver's work? Yeah. Wild geese, if you know this by heart, say it with me. No matter who you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers you its imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, reminding you of your place in the family of things. All of us in this room and on Zoom and in Europe are joined by a common bond. We are strangers to each other in many ways, but we share a deep understanding that we are in the time of our lives. As Rebecca Solnit says, the stories we tell shape the things we believe. The things we believe shape our actions. And the way we act this year and next and for the rest of the decade is going to determine how hot the planet gets, which species survive, and the kind of future we build. Our stories matter. Storytelling isn't just words, is it? Pictures and songs and dance and music, they all reach our imagination in different ways. We all know that while science is crucial and facts really do matter, contrary to what Donald Trump and Elon Musk think, we are not in the middle of nuclear warming. People do not act, especially to do something different, based on those alone. That is why today we're bringing you facts and data and science, but we're going to combine them with telling word music and visual stories that resonate and capture audiences beyond the already engaged. Now I'm just going to check and see whether the people on Zoom can see anything other than my back. Maybe I need to move this. We also know that if we're going to share facts and science, we must be mindful of the messenger. It's now accepted science that the most influential messengers are people with whom we have a trusted relationship. That work starts at home. So we're going to spend time today being kind to one another and reaching across our differences to ensure that by the end of our time together today, we have added to the number of trusting relationships in the world as well as in each of our own lives. Which brings me to the central message of the day and the data. The best science tells us that what motivates people around the world to act to protect our climate is not facts, it's not fear, it isn't even anger. All these have their place. All can be effective in getting attention and in supporting the main message. But comprehensive, planet-wide, randomized control trials done by the best scientists in the world have now demonstrated conclusively that the reason humans move out of their comfort zone and into action is to protect our climate is love. Love of our children, love of our parents, love of friends, and love of special places and beings. The evidence is in. Communicating hope requires us to ask, what does love look like in our climate conversations? How do we talk hopefully about the climate crisis? The answer in one word is love. Thanks to the marketing consortium Potential Energy, we now know for sure that the majority of people in the world and in Canada are worried about climate. They see the unnatural weather. They see the smoke and the floods and the landslides and the droughts and the heat domes and the famine in other places and the warming oceans. But most of us also believe we are more worried than our friends and our neighbors. We feel silenced by our fear, and so we don't talk about it. The majority of Canadians never talk about climate change. If we in this room and so many others can understand that this fear is everywhere, if we can think about how to approach the topic with love for our conversation partners, knowing that they are in all likelihood worried too, then we can, and they want to talk about it if they feel cared for and respected, then we know we can bring a gift to that interaction and not a burden. And if we can learn to make that an institutional and not just an individual responsibility, perhaps we can turn things around. Consider the last time we all talked about the same thing at once. What was it? COVID-19. People talked about nothing else for months. Remember, on and on and on, in circles we talked, and we shared videos, and we banged pots and pans, and we made little heart things for our windows, and our institutions weighed in with force. Churches, synagogues, mosques, gurdwaras, municipalities, community groups, unions, senior centers, recreation centers, workplaces, universities, malls, stores, all the places we spend time together in collective endeavor. They urged us to protect each other. I didn't think that I was engaging in political action when I phoned the director of my mother's seniors retirement home or nursing home and said, "Can you not do any better with the heat dome protecting my mom than putting a wet flannel over her head?" I didn't think that was political action. But if you define political action as having an impact on policy, those conversations were very effective. That's exactly what it was. But I didn't act out of politics, I acted out of love. Governments acted and fast. Miracles occurred. A minimum basic income, a vaccine, heavy fines for breaking rules designed to protect the collective good, and public signs everywhere. Imagine if we could get people talking about the climate crisis, which has already killed so many more people and hurt so many more than COVID ever will, like that. Our COVID conversations were grounded in love. So we talked. If the people we talk to feel loved in our conversations, they will be more likely to talk to others. And there is good data that shows that if people talk about climate change as little as once a month, they are much more likely to act than those who never talk about it at all. We need to engage people beyond our bubbles. What if we did this by spreading love? Love requires us to listen with curiosity and humility, knowing that Indigenous wisdom has much to teach us if we can but slow down enough to listen. Love means accepting that although we are in these storms together, we are in different boats. I write a weekly column for Canada's National Observer. If you don't subscribe, you should. And I talk to people contending with the climate crisis every week, and most of them are young. And when I began writing, I worried that I wouldn't be able to find people from diverse backgrounds to interview. It was completely the opposite. I was amazed by how many eagerly used their networks to encourage others to come forward. I asked one young woman whose family immigrated here from the global south why she thought that was. She said, "It's easy. It's killing our grandparents. It's hurting our cousins. It's personal." Love means supporting people to accept that this is not their fault. Just as we reject blaming a rape victim for the length of her skirt, we need to remind people that the planet is burning not because they didn't recycle that thing yesterday or they took a plane to see a loved one. Love means pointing out that the real villains are the oil, gas, and coal companies that have known for close to 100 years that they were destroying the planet and still even today choose to double down on profit-taking. Love means naming the reality that big oil, coal, and gas burned Jasper. And they knew. Yes, love requires truth-telling. Consider this: a majority of Canadians do not link climate change to burning oil, gas, and coal. We have a responsibility to help others understand that the wildfires, the heat, and the wars fought over resources will get worse as long as we continue to elect governments that bow to the incessant lobbying activity from industry. Love means being gentle with each other as we talk about it and tell the truth. When we talk with a child, we are careful to be clear that fixing this is the responsibility of the adults around them. When we talk with a senior, we are careful to avoid finger pointing. When we talk with each other, we concentrate on what unites us. When we talk with those who are outside our close circles, we start with listening, so we can talk about what matters to them. We correct misinformation. We don't preach. We come from respect. We circle with love. And because the people and the places we love matter so much, we upend the neoliberal ideology that says it's all up to one person and scale up our institutions so that we can put our collective shoulders to the wheel. That is our focus of our time together today. We have a ton of material and not enough time. Think of today as a taste tester, like a wine flight or a craft beer flight. All of our guest speakers and myself are happy to take deep dives with you into the material we covered today. We're going to ask you to consider questions that you might want to think about for years to come. We hope to whet your appetite to take the next sip. And we especially hope, that you will want to plan to engage the institutions within your reach. I need my next slide now. Can you do that for me, Luke? Thank you. That one after this. Next. There we go. So I was recently at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg. That's me on my bike with our little dog. Is screen sharing on? Yeah, okay. The building in the back there is the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg. The building is designed inside and out to remind us that the work, while plentiful and magnificent, is unfinished and changing. That is also true for communicating climate hope.